Number 10. Mercury Comet, 1971 to 1977. The Mercury Comet started the decade as a rebadged Ford Maverick with minimal upgrades to justify its higher price tag. Mercury marketed it as a step up from Ford's economy offering, but buyers quickly realized they were paying extra for little more than different badges and trim. The Comet suffered from the same cramped interior and low-quality materials that plagued the Maverick. Build quality was inconsistent, with panel gaps varying wildly between vehicles rolling off the same assembly line. Under the hood, the base inline-six engine delivered underwhelming performance, struggling to move the Comet's modest weight with any enthusiasm. Even optional V8 engines couldn't mask the car's fundamental lack of refinement. The suspension was tuned for a soft ride, but resulted in vague handling that made spirited driving impossible. Rust protection was minimal, and many Comets developed significant corrosion within just a few years of ownership, particularly around wheel wells and lower body panels. Number 9. Ford Fairmont Futura, 1978 to 1979. The Ford Fairmont Futura arrived as a sportier variant of the regular Fairmont, featuring a sloped rear roofline that sacrificed practicality for questionable styling. Ford positioned it as an American answer to European sport coupes, but the execution fell dramatically short. The rakish roofline severely compromised rear headroom and visibility, making the back seat nearly unusable for adults. The trunk opening was awkwardly shaped, limiting cargo capacity despite decent overall dimensions. Performance was disappointing across all available powertrains. The standard four-cylinder engine was gutless, while the optional inline-six barely improved matters. Build quality issues were common, including electrical problems, premature rust, and interior components that rattled or fell apart. The Futura suspension, borrowed from the standard Fairmont, was tuned too softly for the car's sporting pretensions, resulting in excessive body roll during cornering. Within 2 model years, Ford recognized the Futura's failure and discontinued it, having sold far fewer units than projected. Number 8. Chevrolet Chevette, 1976 to 1987. The Chevrolet Chevette represented GM's attempt to compete with small imports, but it fell dramatically short of the mark. The engine was rough and severely underpowered, struggling to merge onto highways even when pushed to redline. The crude suspension delivered a harsh, unforgiving ride over anything but perfectly smooth pavement. Inside, cheap plastics in depressing colors dominated every surface, and the overall construction quality was shockingly poor for a brand-new vehicle. Quality control problems became legendary. One particularly alarming incident involved a brand-new Chevette losing its drive shaft on the highway. It speared into the pavement and vaulted the car completely airborne. The Chevette was slow, noisy, uncomfortable, and poorly assembled.
Number 7. The AMC Gremlin, 1970 to 1978. The AMC Gremlin was created by simply chopping 12 inches off the rear of a Hornet, resulting in awkward proportions and serious engineering compromises. The truncated design created poor weight distribution that made the car front-heavy and nose-down, especially with the 6-cylinder engine. The reduced rear suspension couldn't properly handle the abbreviated wheelbase, producing a choppy, uncomfortable ride quality that got worse as the car aged. The cramped interior offered limited rear seat space and minimal cargo capacity, making it impractical for most buyers. Build quality varied wildly across production years. Carburetor problems were endemic, electrical issues plagued early models, and rust ate through body panels at an alarming rate. The rear glass hatch became notorious for its weak aluminum hinges that couldn't withstand repeated opening and closing. In some cases, the entire hatch fell off while driving. Despite selling reasonably well during periods of high gas prices, the Gremlin represented a massive missed opportunity. Number 6. Ford Pinto, 1971 to 1980. The Ford Pinto's reputation was destroyed by a fatal design flaw involving its fuel tank placement. Positioned behind the rear axle with only 9 inches of crush space, the tank was extremely vulnerable to rupture during rear-end collisions. Internal crash tests revealed the tank ruptured at impacts above 25 miles per hour. When struck from behind, the fuel filler neck could tear away, spilling gasoline that ignited from crash sparks. The buckling floor pan allowed flames directly into the passenger cabin, while deformed doors frequently jammed shut, trapping occupants inside. Ford engineers identified simple fixes costing as little as $11 per vehicle, but executives decided against implementing them. After mounting lawsuits and intense federal pressure, Ford finally recalled 1.5 million Pintos and Mercury Bobcats in June 1978. The Pinto's fuel tank design became one of the most studied automotive safety failures in history, serving as a stark reminder of what happens when manufacturers prioritize cost savings over passenger safety. Number 5. Chevrolet Vega, 1971 to 1977. The Chevrolet Vega featured an innovative aluminum engine block with silicone-coated cylinder walls that proved catastrophically unreliable in real-world use. Early Vegas lacked coolant recovery tanks, and poor valve stem seals combined with inadequate piston plating caused routine overheating. When engines reached excessive temperatures, the aluminum block expanded faster than the iron head and pistons, warping cylinders and causing complete engine failure, often within the first year of ownership. Rust appeared almost immediately after purchase. The flawed 6-stage rust-proofing process left front fender undersides completely unprotected, and GM eliminated protective fender liners to save money. In 1972, 500,000 Vegas were recalled for rear axle shafts that could separate and cause wheels to fall off completely, faulty carburetor brackets that jammed throttles wide open, and 2 barrel carburetors that backfired violently enough to rupture fuel tanks. By 1978, Chevrolet was forced to repair virtually every overheated engine just to maintain any semblance of customer loyalty.
Number 4. Plymouth Volare, 1976 to 1980. The Plymouth Volare was rushed into production 6 months ahead of schedule, skipping crucial testing phases that would have identified serious problems. Within just 2 years of launch, the 1976 models have been recalled 8 times by federal safety regulators for issues ranging from emission system failures to fuel leaks and defective seatbelts. The Volare became one of the most recalled vehicles in automotive history up to that point. The most visible disaster was premature fender rust, affecting every single front fender on over 1 million 1976 to 77 models. Each vehicle required inspection, fender removal, replacement or galvanization, and complete repainting, costing Chrysler $109 million. Additional recalls addressed hoods that wouldn't latch properly, engines that stalled during acceleration, suspension and brake components suffering premature fatigue, missing muffler heat shields, and leaking fuel hoses. Number 3. AMC Pacer, 1975 to 1980. The AMC Pacer weighed an astounding 3,425 pounds, putting it solidly into mid-sized car territory despite its compact classification. This excessive weight came from a heavy inline-6 engine, massive glass areas that weighed more than conventional steel panels, and extensive built-in safety features. The car was originally designed around a compact rotary engine from GM that was canceled, forcing AMC to hastily reconfigure the entire drivetrain for a much heavier conventional engine. The emission-strangled 6-cylinder engines produced just 100 horsepower, resulting in painfully sluggish performance. Fuel economy was terrible at only 18 to 22 miles per gallon, completely negating any advantage over larger vehicles. Despite being as wide as a Rolls-Royce, the Pacer had a cramped back seat squeezed between intrusive rear wheel wells.
First-year sales of 145,000 units plummeted as buyers realized they'd purchased an inefficient 4-passenger vehicle without adequate trunk space. Production ended in December 1979 after just 280,000 units were built. Number 2. Oldsmobile Omega, 1973 to 1979. The Oldsmobile Omega was simply a rebadged Chevrolet Nova with minimal modifications to justify its significantly higher price point. Buyers quickly discovered they were paying substantial premiums for an Oldsmobile badge on an essentially identical vehicle. The Omega offered poor value compared to the cheaper Nova, and build quality was substandard even by the generally low standards of 1970s American cars. Mechanical problems plagued the Omega throughout its entire production run. Reliability issues were commonplace, and both handling and performance were thoroughly mediocre. The car completely failed to distinguish itself in the increasingly crowded compact market and became one of the more forgettable models in Oldsmobile's history. It perfectly exemplified GM's problematic badge engineering strategy, creating multiple versions of the same basic car without meaningful differentiation, leaving customers feeling they'd overpaid for nothing more than different trim and branding. Sales never met projections.
Number 1. Ford Maverick, 1969 to 1977. The Ford Maverick was outdated and cheaply constructed from the very moment it was introduced. The cramped interior featured low-quality materials that felt bargain basement even when the car rolled off the showroom floor. Performance with the base inline-6 engine was thoroughly anemic, and even upgrading to the optional V8 couldn't overcome the car's fundamental lack of refinement and poor engineering execution. Ford attempted to inject some appeal with the grabber package, adding hood scoops and a rear spoiler, but these cosmetic upgrades couldn't disguise the car's basic shortcomings. Build quality was wildly inconsistent across production years. Handling was vague and heavy, making every driving experience utterly forgettable. The Maverick did nothing particularly well and left owners completely uninspired. While it sold in decent numbers purely due to aggressive low pricing, it represented automotive mediocrity in its purest form. The car failed to match the solid reputation of its Falcon predecessor and couldn't compete effectively with imports offering superior refinement.